Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Miss Prihatin Pujastuti SSMPD. I'm Ratna Asri Hofiani. Fulfill the final test of Sociolinguistic by present the dialect and variety unpacking language rich tapestry. So, here we go. So, this chapter introduces why studying dialects is important. Here are the four main points to cover. The first one in understanding complexity. Dialects showcase the diversity in human language use and how social and geographical factors influence communication. The second is identity and evaluation. Dialects often signal social or group identity, helping individuals express belonging to specific groups such as ethnicity, social class, or age cohorts. And the third is social and cultural reflection. Dialects are shaped by social and cultural elements, reflecting societal value system, norms, and difference in language use based on class or gender. And the last is historical insight. Analyzing change in dialects can reveal societal shifts over time, assisting in the reconstruction of social history and migration patterns. Okay, what exactly is a dialect? When discussing this slide, define a dialect as a variant of a language that is distinct enough to be considered separate from other variants, yet it is not an independent language. Emphasize that dialects are not merely incorrect forms of a language but are systemically structured. Explain the two main types of dialectical variation. Regiolects or toplex are variants that emerge due to geographical distance and isolation, leading to distinct linguistic features in different regions. Use the historical example of Latin fragmenting into various little tongues across France, which demonstrated how geographic isolation directly causes dialectalization. Then, introduce sociolects, which are linked to a speaker, social position, or group within society. Highlight that while geographic factors are significant, social factors are equally crucial. Conclude by stressing that a dialect typically embodies characteristics of both of regulate, and the sociolect simultaneously often encompassing multiple subtypes. So, the spectrum of dialects or social class. This slide presents the social class spectrum of dialects, ranging from the most prestigious to the least prestigious. Begin by explaining the acrolect. This is the most prestigious variant of a language, often aligned with linguistic authorities and considered the standard or correct form. Next, describe the hyperlink. This is a more refined form of the acrolink, typically used by the aristocracy or elite social groups. And then introduce the mesolink. This serves as an intermediary variant, commonly spoken by the middle classes. And finally, discuss the basilike. The variant is associated with lower class and is often perceived as a vulgar or less sophisticated. However, it's crucial to emphasize that despite this social perception, the basilic is linguistically rich and often acts as the cradle of linguistic innovation, where new words and grammatical structures emerge. This point highlights the dynamic nature of language and challenges the conventional notion of prestige. And then, in this slide, introduce the concept of ethnolex, which are language variant used by specific ethnic groups. The primary example provided is a African American Vernacular English, also known as AAVA, in the US. So, highlight the AAVA possesses unique characteristics in its pronunciation, grammar, and syntax, setting it apart from standard American English. Emphasize how language through ethnolex like AAVA serve as a powerful markers of ethnic identity and cultural heritage for its speakers. The table on the right side, the card provides comparative example illustrating the difference in expression across French, Standard American English, and AIVA, also known as African American Vernacular English. And so go on, creolization, the birth of new language. Creolization refers to the fascinating process of language hybridization, where new languages are born from the contact between different linguistic groups. We can observe a progression in this process, starting with a pidgin. This is a basic hybrid language that emerged when two groups without a common language need to communicate, often in contexts like trade or colonial encounters. Over time, if a pidgin is regularly used and passed down through generation, it can develop and formalize into a complete full-fledged language known as a creole. A related concept is a Senolect, which is a variant of dominant language that has been influenced by a local language, often showing grammatical simplification. And finally, a Mimolect is a type of Zenolect that decreolizes or moves away from its Creole features by imitating a more prestigious language, often due to social pressure for linguistic assimilation. So this entire process of creolization clearly demonstrates how language are dynamic entities, constantly adapting and evolving in response to social dynamics and contact between communities. So, cryptolex are fascinating language variants basically designed to be understood only by an ethnic group, making them difficult or impossible for outsiders to comprehend. They can serve various functions, from playful communication to serious purpose of group cohesion and protection. French verlan, a form of French slang where syllables are inverted, like verlan itself is from inverse, and backward. Javanese slang, various form of slang and coded language used within Javanese communities. And the other example is English rhyming slang, a form of wordplay in English where a word is replaced by a rhyming phrase and then the rhyming part is often dropped, like apple and pears for stairs, short and to apples. Shalta, the traveler's language developed by Irish travelers as a means of a secret communication to avoid understanding by English invaders and other outsiders. This example highlights how cryptolex play a crucial role in maintaining group identity, privacy, and sometimes even safety. Okay, and we go in sexolex and generalex. Sexolex are more inclusively generalex refer to language variation primarily influenced by social factors related to gender rather than biological sex. The term generalex is often preferred to clarify this distinction. So, sexolect defining these are language variation linked to gender, but it's important to understand that they are more influenced by social factors than biological sex. The term generalect is often used and prevent confusion between biological sex and socially constructed gender. Social conditioning in Western society, generalists are frequently conditioned by women's social roles. Research by linguists like Leboeuf suggests women might exhibit greater sensitivity to language norms, while Lakoff points the educational influences shaping these differences. So global examples will gender-based linguistic difference might be declining in some Western contexts. Distinct generalics persist globally. Examples include specific pronouns used in Japanese that vary by gender, or different consonant usage by Piraha women, highlighting the diverse ways language reflects gender. And then in adapted sexolex, the linguistic behavior of transgender individuals further illustrates the accurate nature of these linguistic traits. They often adopt the specific sexualectal pattern associated with their desired gender, demonstrating that these are learned and chosen linguistic identities rather than inherent biological ones. So this slide covers three types of specialized dialects. The first one is medialects. Medialects are language variants tied to media, exemplified by translating English and artificial accent blending British and American English for per stage. Communolex and technolex are dialects formed within social or professional groups such as slang and jargons, used to display belonging and distinguished members. And the last is religiolects are dialect specific to religious communities, often preserving older linguistic from like Latin or Sanskrit in religious practice, or making religious identity inspiration. Okay, in this slide, covers the most personal and temporal aspect of dialects. Families or ecolects are dialect-specific to families or households, showing how living together creates unique linguistic codes. Dialects are the unique dialect of an individual, reflecting all linguistic pressures and influence they encounter as the starting point for language evolution. Chronolects are a language at a specific point in history. For example, Old French and Middle French are chronolects of the French language, highlighting its constant evolution over time. This concept emphasizes the incredible diversity and constant evolution of language. So, that's all from me, Ratna Asri. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.